Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel for this mid-year financial health checkup. In today's video, we're going to be going over my top most important financial metrics that you can easily calculate along with me in order to fully understand my current financial health in a more holistic way. So money is super nuanced and layered. If you're like me, you've taken one financial metric and decided that is your status or your success in life. So we are going to see why we're stressed and what we actually need to work on, or these metrics might show you that you're actually doing better than you think you're going to do, and you need not be so difficult on yourself. So if you're new here, hi, my name is Alice. I love to chat all things money, mostly overcoming the scarcity mindset and creating meaning with money. So if that's interesting to you, don't forget to subscribe and stick around. Grab your budget spreadsheet and let's figure these out together. Okay, today as my little helper, we have Hazel right there. She's going to be helping us calculate these important financial metrics. The first one that I wanted to talk about that I feel like so many people just do not talk about, but I think has been the number one indicator of financial peace in our life, is the monthly cash flow margin. This basically means how much flexibility do you have with your money before you choose to save it. What money is not going to your expenses or your guilt-free spending. As important as saving is, if there's a month where an unexpected expense comes up and you instead use the money that you were going to save for the unexpected expense, that creates unmatched financial peace. Because yes, saving is super important, but in the end, if you don't save, it's not the same as missing a payment on a debt, mortgage, rent, and all that kind of stuff. So very, very helpful when it comes to financial peace of mind. When this number is healthy, you do not panic when you need an expense, which I feel like is always a car expense for us. And then you can also say yes to spontaneous opportunities. Yes, again, although saving is super important, but if a once in a lifetime opportunity comes up to go on a really cool trip with someone or to do something fun that you wouldn't normally have the opportunity to do, that's where this money can go towards. If you find yourself saying yes to that, then you probably have a very healthy monthly margin. And then if you have a healthy monthly margin, your money is not taking up so much space in your mind because there's really no pressure with it. So when you have an unhealthy or too low of a monthly margin for yourself, unexpected expenses feel very intense and it can kind of make you feel like you're in a financial crisis. You might feel trapped by your bills, you feel like you're never making enough, never able to get ahead of where you currently are in life, and you're not like able to make progress towards the future. Okay, so to calculate your monthly cash flow margin, you take your total take-home pay minus your total expenses. So you can kind of choose exactly what you want these expenses to include. I'm going to include everything that I normally spend money on. So that includes like all of my bills, utilities, mortgage, groceries, pet care, car expenses, and then I'm also going to include our baseline guilt-free spending fund money, because although worst comes to worst, like we would not go golfing or buy clothes or eat out if obviously like we had a huge emergency. How much is your monthly margin based on the money that you don't have to like force yourself not to spend? I really want this metric to show what money is absolutely 100% free and flexible. I don't have to bend over backwards to make sure that we're not eating out and that we're not buying any clothing. Some of our fun money category basically is, you know, that pretty solid lifestyle creep that is in our life that we'd have to make changes if we didn't want to spend that anymore. It's difficult to perfectly find these numbers because not every month is the same. Like we've had one month this year that's been a 3 paycheck month, and then we've also gotten a bonus, but then we'll get a 3 paycheck month on the second half of the year. So anyways, just to kind of get like a good ballpark number, our monthly margin is about 35 to 40% of our take-home pay, and that includes some months of very high like income. So this equates to about like $3,500 a month basically. This year has been completely different financially for us as opposed to the years previous. So we've gotten to the point where we are pretty easily hitting our financial goals now, and I am someone who has struggled with the scarcity mindset for so long in my life. Now I'm at the point where we have such a comfortable monthly margin where I want to freak out about something, but my brain knows that I won't get that hit of feeling like I'm in control, so it kind of just like doesn't want to worry about money as much. It's just been like wild because I've just been someone who has loved to obsess about money for so long and to feel so much control over money, to now like we have such a healthy monthly margin. Yes, we want to save and invest that money, But also if a car expense comes out that's like $2,000, we don't necessarily have to pull money out of savings for that. And that really is the power of the monthly margin. Yes, again, savings are so incredibly important, but say, you know, there is a crazy good deal on like some sort of trip to take and we want to save that money, but we're also like, well, this is 1 month. Like, why don't we just spend that money on travel? Like, again, I'm not saying that's a financial strategy to use all your money that you're going to save to spend it on travel, but things happen like that where there's great opportunities for you to spend some money that you normally wouldn't spend. And having a healthy monthly margin really does allow you to take those opportunities when they do come and really capitalize on that and create meaning with money. But then we've had other times in our marriage where our monthly margin is so incredibly small and we definitely feel that squeeze for sure. From what I can tell, there isn't really a like defined, this is how much you should have for your monthly cash flow margin. But again, it is very nuanced. It can be a very layered experience. For example, if you are someone who has struggled with the scarcity mindset, you might need to work to have more for you to feel comfortable. If you're someone who knows your expenses, feels very confident with budgeting, and has had a lot of experiences where you know that like you can do it, you make a lot of money, you have future earning potential. Yeah, it just really depends on what you want for your financial piece. The next financial metric we're going to cover is emergency fund coverage. So this basically means how long would your emergency fund last you and your family if you were having no income, and that basically means like a job loss. So for me, this directly impacts my feelings of financial security and emotional stability when it comes to money. Although I love to budget and although not that many crazy things have happened to me in my life, I do know that life happens. The emergency fund really acts as a buffer, as a safeguard for you, because again, we all live our lives not knowing when an emergency is going to strike, which is like not a good mindset to be in, and you don't have to think about that when you do have the emergency fund. So what this feels like when you have a healthy emergency fund coverage or longevity is that you feel this baseline sense of security. You realize that sometimes in life things happen, things get lean, but that you do have a big safety net to fall onto. And the biggest one for me that I know that I have a good emergency fund is when unexpected expenses do happen. They are so annoying, but that's it. It's not the end of the world. I'm just kind of super annoyed and bothered that I have to pay that. And yeah, emergency fund is not only for job loss, it's for so many different types of unexpected expenses that you can't cover out of pocket. I really do like to think about it in the sense of job loss. Like if we were not bringing any income in, how long would that last us? I hope and pray to God that that never happens. I mean, again, you just don't know what's going to happen in life. Another way that you know you have a healthy emergency fund coverage is when you're not obsessively thinking about all the bad things that could happen. When we first moved into our house, we had $2,000 total in our savings and our checking account, like total, that was it. And so I was obsessively thinking about, okay, like our cars cannot break down right now because we do not have the money, or we cannot go to the doctors right now. Like we would have if we had to, but I was like, please do not let this happen because we just didn't have the money for it. And now that we have a much bigger emergency fund, I just don't think about them. Like I just go to the hospital when I need to and I'm not worried about it. I go to my doctor's visits and I like the car breaks down and it's annoying, but it's not the end of the world. I'm not obsessively thinking about it. And then if your emergency fund is not aligned with your lifestyle in the sense that it is too low, small expenses feel pretty heavy and stressful and you wonder like how you're gonna pay it. And then also you are again just thinking all about those worst case scenarios all the time. We have a little emergency fund for the cats too, but it's not very big, so they get to use the human emergency fund as well. Okay, it is also possible that your emergency fund might be too high for your specific lifestyle. I'm not gonna say a specific number because honestly for me, I know what a 6-month emergency fund looks like for our specific lifestyle, but part of me just wants an emergency fund of $100,000 because what a nice round number, and then I feel like I would never ever have to worry about anything. But I know that's also the scarcity mindset talking. So it might be too high if you feel like you are so incredibly overly restricted, purposely withholding every like ounce of meaning in your life so that you can be saving for your emergency fund. If it's like you've already saved a lot and then you just keep on saving, which I definitely am at risk for. The emergency fund is such like a safety control thing for me. So to calculate how long your emergency fund would last, you take your emergency fund amount and you divide it by your expenses that you have to pay to live. So this is different from like true fixed expenses that are the same every single month. This is more like expenses like, yes, your bills, your utilities, your mortgage, your rent, but also like you need to eat. So your groceries, and you like need to pay for pet care sometimes, pet food. So obviously if we lost our jobs, my husband wouldn't be playing golf. I would not be buying clothing. We would not be buying like little toys for our pets, and we would not be going on trips, and we would not be doing all of those things. So I do not include guilt-free spending. I also kind of think of it as like, say our grocery budget is $500. If I were to lose my job, I think I would use my freed up time to make sure that our grocery budget is lower by like making things from scratch and not buying as expensive of food. Our current emergency fund is $23,000, which is, it's taken quite a while to get there. Our expenses that are absolute must pay in order for us to sustain even like the baseline lifestyle that we live is $4,023.36, which means that our emergency fund would last about 5.7 months if we were bringing home absolutely no income. Now that's also tricky because I know if we had no jobs and we'd have no health care, so then we'd probably pay for COBRA, and so it'd last not as long. So it's not perfect to figure out how long your emergency fund is gonna last. I feel really good about this number. As I've said before already, I obviously want the emergency fund to never stop growing and just be so astronomical that I never have to worry about money ever again. I'm at the same time really proud of it, which is kind of, I feel like, a sign that I'm overcoming the scarcity mindset. So far, we've been working on our emergency fund for about 2.5 years. So as I said, when we first moved into our house, we had $2,000 total in all of our accounts. We started building our emergency fund up October of 2023, and now it's 2026. And yeah, first few months that we only had that $2,000, which didn't even go to our emergency fund because we needed it for like groceries and gas and all that kind of stuff. We wanted to get that first $10,000. We saved like our life depended on it because our financial life kind of did depend on it. So we got that first $10,000 in like 3 months. We really went without as much as we possibly could to get it. I love what the financial creator Caleb Hammer says, that not having an emergency fund is an emergency. So we are currently saving around $1,000 every single month for our emergency fund, and we hope to be at $30,000 by the end of this year, which will be a fully funded 6-month emergency fund. That gives us a little bit more breathing room, that we don't have to like cut expenses as far, and then obviously thinking about insurance and all that kind of stuff. I hate to say this, but I actually think about job loss all the time, unfortunately. I don't know why I'm so scared of it. I think when I used to be on LinkedIn a lot for my old job, I would always see people that had lost their jobs, unfortunately, in really difficult circumstances. And I think that just really, really scared me. And unfortunately, and I hope to overcome this sometime soon, I don't know why I do this. It's like such a mental block, but I have not yet decorated my desk at work because I'm still afraid of not having a job and getting laid off and like being embarrassed when I'm like trying to pack up all my stuff and leave. Haven't even had like any indication of it, but for some reason I'm still so scared. And so yeah, job loss definitely stresses me out to no end. And so this is definitely something I can work on because it is not bad or shameful to be scared about losing your job. This is the opportunity to think, okay, yes, I get that I'm scared of job loss and not having a job. That would be a really intense time financially for our family and emotionally as well. We have the funds to sustain our family for a while. Gives us breathing room to look for a job if I needed to, look for a job that I really love. So a couple things I hope I would do if we did experience no income. We're contributing to our HSA right now, hopefully so that if we ever experience this, we can use health expenses and put them towards that. We have a car sinking fund as well because cars always need maintenance. They always need work, especially because we have older cars. Okay, the next financial metric is your savings rate. So this is the percentage of your income that you choose to save every single month, not invest. So as important as I think investing is, savings definitely has its place in this world. Liquid cash is so important when it comes to buying a house, buying a car, going on vacation. I know it's not seen as amazing as having an emergency fund, but sinking funds, or the idea of like, I want to buy a luxury purse next month, which I have no idea how much a luxury purse costs, so excuse my ignorance, but like say it's like $1,000 and you have $700 this month. It's such an important financial habit to have, to be like, I don't quite have the $1,000. I'm gonna save a little bit longer and then get it when I can. So I think having liquid cash and building up the muscle memory of saving is so incredibly important, especially when it comes to like buying a ski pass, going on a weekend trip, paying for Christmas presents. I feel like saving is so important. It is tricky to balance saving versus investing. They both have their part. I'm a huge fan of both of them, but we need to talk about saving too. So when you have a healthy savings rate, you do feel that sense of like you're paying yourself first. still feel like you're making progress on your financial goals instead of just feeling really stuck. Huge part of having a good savings rate is when you do end up spending that money, like say you do buy that luxury purse that you maybe had to save a couple months for, you buy that, it doesn't feel very reckless because you know that you're saving a lot of money as well. Okay, when your savings rate is too low, you might feel like you're not making any progress, you're stuck, you're barely staying afloat, feel super stressed when you pull money out of savings. Pulling from those funds can be really stressful because you're like, it took so long to save for that. It is also possible, again, that your savings rate might be too high for your specific lifestyle. Again, I'm not going to say a number, talk to a financial advisor, but you might feel like you're being overly restrictive, you're going without anything that brings meaning to your life, you're truly missing out on life, you feel like you're saving and it's so aimless and purposeless, it's just you're saving mass amounts for no apparent reasons, you're not letting yourself dream. Those are all reasons where like saving for a purpose feels so much better than just saving to feel like you're in control of things. So to calculate your savings rate, you do how much you save per month, any given month. Really, I like to take the averages of the year so far and then divide it by your monthly income. Again, I take the averages as well. So our savings rate this year has been about 22%. So the experts, which again, I'm not an expert, but some of the common things that people say about savings rate is it should be about 10 to 20% of your take-home pay, not including investments, but I'm not a very blanket statement girl. I think that there are a lot of nuances. Again, I think your savings rate really depends on your current lifestyle and also like future lifestyle, if that makes sense. So like, do you rent an apartment? Did you buy a house? Do you want to buy a house someday? Do you have kids? Yes or no? If so, how many? Do you have dual income? Do you have single income? Because that definitely changes your risk tolerance as well. I think a big thing that we don't think about is like, does your company have good health insurance? My last company had phenomenal health insurance. The deductible for a person was $250. It was lower than the premium. That's insane. So you just think about that kind of stuff. But now we have more middle insurance, which means that we save like more of a medium amount. So we now contribute to an HSA. Yeah, it really just depends on what you have now and what you want in the future. For us, we own a house, a huge asset. So we are on the hook for basically anything that happens to it, which means that we save more money than maybe someone who rents an apartment. We also have 2 cars, and those cars are 10 years old and 20 years old, which I love them so much. But if you have a very old car, you got to think about how much you need to save for maintenance. We also have AAA because like I'm not about to drive anywhere in my 20-year-old car without AAA. Not sponsored, just a huge fan. Yeah, you really have to think about what you are in charge of in life, and if that kind of stuff went to crap, could you cover that? Are you saving enough money for that? I feel like a house is both more and less expensive than I thought it was going to be. The general narrative that I felt like I saw before we bought a house was that when you buy a house, your dishwasher, your fridge, your washer and dryer, your oven, your microwave, they're all gonna just spontaneously combust at any moment, and the siding's gonna be ripped off your house and it's gonna burn down to the ground and all those things. Like obviously that stuff hasn't happened. We bought new appliances, they're fine, like they're great. They have not broken down yet. But then on the flip side, we've also like put in a yard and we like have air filters, and you know, you have to buy a lot more things to clean it, I feel like. So yeah, anyways, it's been more and less expensive at the same time, and so we just have saved a lot of money for that. Okay, the next metric that I wanted to touch on was your investing rate. So yes, saving is super important, investing is also important. They both have a huge part in my financial strategy, but investing rate is the amount that you save in your gross income, which I hope and pray that gross income is the one where pre-tax, before the money hits your bank account. I always get gross and net mixed up. I cannot keep them straight. But basically, what percentage of all the money that you make, like if someone's like, what's your salary? That's the money that I would use. I find that if I do just net income or when the money hits my bank account, I'm not really seeing an accurate representation of how much I'm investing, because we invest a lot pre-tax, pre-money hitting the bank account. But again, this investing rate will look different depending on what kind of retirement you want, when you want to retire, where you're at in life. I know when we first obviously moved into our house, or when I was in college, I was not able to invest very much. Well, my husband has been investing since he had his like first job as an adult, not a teenager. So yeah, he's been investing for a very long time. I have been investing for like a medium time, if that makes sense. So yeah, it really just depends also on your financial literacy. Some people grow up in a house where investing is like at the forefront, while other people invest a little bit later in life. Again, talk to a financial advisor. Huge fan of having multiple financial advisors and then pitting them against each other and watching them fight. I'm just kidding, but asking 2 or more financial advisors the same questions just to make sure that you're not getting any crazy advice. So if you have a healthy investing rate for your lifestyle it really feels honestly seamless and invisible. It's happening behind the scenes. You don't even see it. Now, you don't have to automate your investments in order to be investing the right amount. But for us, I've really found that we don't have to use any willpower and it just happens naturally. I forget that we're investing. And that's why I do like to figure out how much money we're investing of our gross income, because I genuinely forget that we're investing before the money hits our bank account. Also, it just brings a sense of confidence that you are preparing for your future in a way where you don't even know what retirement's gonna be like. I find that really empowering, but also kind of scary. Like, I cannot imagine being 67 years old and I cannot picture what the world is gonna look like. I feel like things change so fast now. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't know what it's gonna be like, but I'm going to put money aside for that, hoping that it's all gonna work out. So if you feel like your investing rate is not aligned with your lifestyle, that you're not investing enough, you may feel like your long-term wealth is not growing fast enough, and that can also include like net worth. Also, you might be relying too heavily on money that you have not intentionally set aside. So say you don't really have an investing strategy, you just hope to invest the extra stuff that you have. Don't get me wrong, I love to, if we have like a bonus or a 3 paycheck month, to be like, hey, let's invest some extra money. I never want to get into the habit where every single month I'm like, okay, like it looks like we spent $50 less on groceries, let's invest that money. Now, obviously, if that's all you can do, that's amazing, but that is not, to me, a very sustainable way to invest because it takes a lot of willpower. One way that your investing rate might not align with your lifestyle, in a sense that it's too high, is that you are really causing yourself a ton of financial stress by pushing yourself so hard and then not even really knowing what kind of lifestyle you want to live in retirement. And like, you could go and talk to a financial advisor and they'd be like, wow, you don't need nearly that much money when you retire, yet you're going without so much in your current life to have an insanely luxurious retirement life that you won't even feel comfortable spending because you haven't practiced spending your money today to create meaning. So how to calculate this number: you take all your investing contributions and you divide it by your gross income, which is all the money that is pre-tax, pre-everything. So that includes like 401ks and all the other ones that other people do. I know in Canada, which I watch a lot of financial content in Canada, they have like the RRSP, the TFSA. I think I said those ones correctly. I don't know. You take your Roth IRA contributions, your traditional IRA contributions, your brokerage account contributions, all those things, add those up, and then you divide it by your gross income. So far this year, the percent that we're investing of our gross income is 22%, which I was so surprised when I saw this number. I did not think it was going to be that high. So experts, wherever they are, they say around 15 to 25% of your gross income. I feel really good about our investment rate. Again, I feel like it's a drop in the ocean, but on the flip side, I'm so proud of us to be pushing ourselves, because I do feel like we're pushing ourselves. But basically, I feel like investing for the future can be so nebulous sometimes. So this is definitely a huge thing I love to talk about with a financial advisor, for them to kind of reassure me that I am doing enough, because it can just be so stressful to not understand what retirement could even look like when a lot of financial advisors do help people that are like super near to retirement or already retired. They can kind of help you to kind of picture that and imagine that lifestyle. Okay, so the last financial metric, and again, there are so many financial metrics you could go through, but I really like to go through these 5. So the last one that we're going to talk about is true fixed expenses. So this is the amount that, I love how she's like giving herself a bath. Hi, queen. So what I mean by true fixed expenses, because I feel like sometimes people say fixed expenses are like all expenses that you have to pay, and then some people divide them up like fixed expenses are like subscriptions and things you have to pay, while variable are like things that you can kind of change a little bit. What I mean by true fixed expenses, the things that are absolutely set in stone, the financial obligations that you have to pay. And if you don't pay them, I don't want to say like something bad happens, because that sounds ominous, but like genuinely that would be like if we stopped paying our mortgage, or if someone stopped paying their rent, or if you stopped paying your car payment. So if you were not going to pay these true fixed expenses, you would have to change your life in a very structural way. If we weren't paying our mortgage, we would have to move in with family. So when you have a healthy fixed expense ratio, this feels like your income is not being immediately snatched up for things that you're not even choosing. It's just like automated payments. Your power, your gas bill, your mortgage, your rent, your car payment. You feel like there's a little bit of flexibility if your situation changes, and you feel like your lifestyle is sustainable and stable without being like super intensely strict. Every single cent has a place, whether you want it to or not. If you feel like your fixed expense ratio is too high, you're probably going to feel like, a large part of your income is just suddenly gone and you didn't even make the decision. The decision was made for you years ago when you decided to start renting that apartment or buy that car or buy that house. You may feel very stuck even if your income is genuinely super good or higher than average. You may feel like little financial hiccups are a lot more stressful, and there might be an extreme sense of rigidity in your normal life. You feel like you can't really do anything spontaneous because so much of your money is going towards those really locked in fixed expenses. Like say you go to the grocery store, like it's very like, no, most of my money is going to my mortgage, so I can't buy the nicer brand of like coffee creamer or something. So how you calculate this is you add up all those expenses that you must pay. So I honestly did all of my bills in my budget spreadsheet. Everything is divided by like fixed expenses, things I have to pay or else versus like expenses that are variable, things that I could change like groceries, personal care. So I take those and I divide it by our monthly income, and that's the fixed expense ratio. Our fixed expense ratio is only 27%, which is wild. So like 27% of our income is absolutely 100% called for. We do not get to make any decisions about it. It's not like going to a different grocery store to make it cheaper. Like 27% of our income is basically essentially gone because of the lifestyle that we've chosen to live. And I have to say, I feel an immense amount of gratitude for this number. When we first moved into our house, obviously we took a little bit of financial risks, but our true fixed expenses at one point, I think a couple years ago, was around 50%. So no matter what we did, no matter how much money we saved or we cut for certain variable expenses, 50% of our money was immediately called for. And that is because we made less money. I was in college working hourly. My husband was in his master's program. He was working salary, but he made less because he hadn't graduated yet. And I hadn't gotten a promotion yet. Our mortgage was higher then than it is now. We recently refinanced and it's been an absolute game changer. So having that number feels so low. I don't quite know exactly what the benchmark is. It was kind of weird. I looked it up online. It was like, oh, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 45. I was like, okay, whoa. So anyways, I feel so incredibly grateful that like the money that is already called for, that we have no say in where it goes, is so low, because that just frees up so much more. Even though we do have to buy groceries every month and we do have to buy cat food, we have a lot of choice in what brands we want to buy and how much we want to buy, and like, can we cut costs in a certain way? And so it's really nice that like a small portion of our income is locked down. It's really made a difference when it comes to financial peace for us. Alrighty, if you've gone through these 5 metrics and you're like, wow, not feeling so hot right now, I just want to remind you guys, I felt so much shame when it came to a certain part of our finances, especially when it came to the fixed expenses for a while. I just want to remind you that all of us were dropped into a financial system and a culture that we did not build. Credit card companies and banks spend billions of dollars a year to try and help you to take out a loan that you don't need and to get into credit card debt. If you take anything away from this video, I want you to know that it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility when it comes to your finances. And so the most important thing you can do is remove the shame when it comes to money, and then realize that there are actionable items that you can take from these metrics to know what to work on. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.